it's Jennifer from Predominantly Paleo, and today we're going to make some pita bread. This is my latest recipe using cassava flour. As you know, I usually work with yuca root and make yuca dough from that, but this is actually from the flour. So whether you call it yuca or cassava, we'll be working with that flour today, which is actually the whole root ground up and dried. I have found that this flour is very close to its glutinous wheat flour counterpart, which makes it really easy to work with in creating some great recipes that can be AIP friendly, are paleo friendly, and are safe starches. So we'll walk through it. I'll give you the measurements in both grams and cups so that you can follow along and make them at home. Okay, I have preheated my oven to 450. So the next thing I'm going to do is, in a mixing bowl, I'm going to add my yeast, which is about 7 grams or 1 packet. I'm going to add my maple syrup or honey, 1 tablespoon. Then I'm going to start with 1 cup of hot water. This is about 100 degrees. And you want it to not be boiling, but it should be warm to hot. I'm going to stir that up, and we're going to just wait a couple of minutes to let that yeast bloom and take effect, and then I'll show you the next step. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and add my salt in. This is 1 teaspoon of sea salt. And then right here I have 260 grams of cassava flour, which is 2 cups measured out. And I'm just going to start to stir this. You'll see as it comes together, the water gets absorbed very quickly, but I want to point out that this is not enough water to make a dough. You can see a lot of the dried flour on the edges. Even if I work this with my hands, it's still going to be too dry and crumbly to roll out. So I need to go ahead and add another ½ a cup of water. Alright, so this is my extra ½ a cup of water. This now equals 1½ cups total water and 2 cups of flour, or 260 grams. We have our salt, honey, yeast, all mixed in here. And next I am going to get this dough working by hand so we can roll it out between the parchment paper and get it into the oven. Right, so the last step, I'm going to go ahead and drizzle in 2 tablespoons of avocado oil. I saved this step for last. You can really add it in at any time, but it will help bring the dough together. I am working it just with my hands now, and I do think that the oil is what helps when it's in the oven, getting it nice and toasty and brown. So you can see it took an entire, I'm going to remove the dough here, it took an entire 1.5 cups of water in order to make this dough so that it's not dry and crumbly. And now I'm going to roll this out into 1 giant piece, and then I can pinch off about 1/6 of the total. You really can, you know, stretch it and make it go further if you want. I like to do probably like a 5-inch pita bread for each one. So depending on what size you want, you can just kind of roll it out and then divide it up into equal portions from there. And then we'll start to roll it out between the parchment paper. Okay, I've got 1/6 of my total dough pinched off, rolled into a ball. I've got my parchment paper for the underneath side, and then we're going to take one more piece and put it on top. You want to smash it down. This is not the time to get out all of your aggression. It is still just a little piece of dough, innocent little piece of dough. Take it easy, but we're going to roll this out. And again, the thickness that you roll it will determine what the texture is like in the oven. So if you roll it really thin, you're going to get more of a crispy, crackery kind of texture. If you leave a little bit of thickness, you'll get more of a bread, but if it's too thick, it can turn out gummy. That's just the nature of the cassava flour. So you want to kind of play around and see which thickness works best for you. So I've rolled that out between two pieces. You can see it rolls really easily. It's very simple to work with. And I'm gonna take this piece and transfer the entire piece of parchment onto a baking sheet, and we'll bake it up and see how it turns out. Okay, so I put in my first pita for about 5 minutes. I don't like to over bake. We're gonna flip it over and it's gonna go back in for 5 minutes, and we will add our cook time as necessary. Okay, so this is my first one out. I broke off a piece and I sliced into it, so you can see it does make a little pocket. I did do this one a little bit thin, so the edges, if you see, break off more like a cracker. And those are perfect for dipping, but the inside is definitely where it could be sliced and stuffed with something. And we've got a couple more in the oven. I'll show you how those turn out in just a second. Okay, so this is round 2. I rolled them a little bit thicker than the first round. You can see they've got some nice little brown bubbles popping up there. And then now they're too hot to handle, so I can't cut it open for you yet. But then I'm gonna do one more round, even a little bit thicker, and we'll see how those turn out as well. Okay, so this was my final batch, the third round. You can see this one has some nice bubbling happening. These were the thickest of the bunch, and I was able to slice that one open pretty easily. If you slice them when they're warm, they're going to be a lot more pliable, which means you'll have some leeway when you carefully, very carefully, slice them open, and then you can stuff them. When you wait until they're cooled, sometimes it's a little bit harder to slice through, so you want to warm them up again if you intend on using them as a pita pocket. Alrighty y'all, hopefully you've had fun today making pita bread with predominantly paleo. As you can see, it's really not that difficult of a process. It's more that you just need to get familiar with working with a different flour. If you're used to working with wheat flour or even rice flour or coconut flour or almond flour, they all have really different qualities and textures, and they all absorb water a little differently too. So play around in your own kitchen, see what you can come up with. Cassava flour has been a great experiment in my own kitchen. And of course, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. You'll find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course the blog. See y'all soon.